All right, well, I guess we'll open the meeting. So the meeting will be taped by Area 58. So we'll start the meeting. Mr. Nazarella is away. He won't be here tonight. If you will all join me in pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, we've got first appointments not till 6:15. So yeah,
We'll get it done. All right, so I move to approve the following selectmen minutes. Regular session September 23rd, 2021, and regular session June 23rd, 2022.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I move to affirm approval of the following warrants. Payroll warrant number 67 for $419,530.23. Vendor warrant number 68 for $82,085.77. And withholding warrant number 69 for $138,333.12.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I move to approve the following warrant commitments. Vendor warrant number 70 for $365,019.43. Mobile home park fee number 2 for $5,148. Ambulance commitments from January 23rd, 23 to January 29th, 23 for $46,247.02.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
All right, I move to approve the payment of the following selectmen bills. From the law fund, $78 to Relics LexisNexis, to KP Law PC for $192.50, for WB Mason, selectmen expense account for $153.97, for Town Hall Electricity, National Grid, $1,610.13. Selectmen expense account, WB Mason again, for $35.90.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. So that takes care of all of our bills. So we have some discussions here. I'm going to just skip around a little bit to see if I can make this go as smoothly as possible. We have a request to approve the appointment of Bridget Benoit as assistant accountant. So I assume that's why you're here, Mrs. Nolan? Okay. Anything we need to know? Or?
She is doing a great job, and she started officially for me about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Good. Any questions?
No, she's been great. I think she's going to be a great asset to Town Hall.
All right, so I'll move to approve the appointment of Bridget Benoit as assistant accountant.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Are you here for anything else in particular? Okay. So we also have on our discussion, review and approve draft CDBG application for Halifax Mobile Home Estates. I assume that's why Mrs. Winowitz is here. And is this for the tree removal thing?
It is, yes. We were not able to receive a draft application, but I believe somebody was coming in to give an overview of what you're looking for.
Right. I did give you a sample with the information we used for a grant last year through Senator Warren's office. We were not a grantee, but the information is similar. It was for the trees. And Chris Cervantes from CDI, Corporate Development Institute, is here, and he can answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Steve, are you here for this?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right.
Unfortunately, to do a sample grant, you can't get a paper copy. It's online only, where you have to create an account and you're actually doing it, so.
Okay, so do you want to just, again, tell us your name, and why don't you come on up front so we can actually hear what you have to say? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Cervantes.
You can have a seat. You don't have to.
Stand.
You just, say your name and identify yourself so we know who you are and what you're about.
Sure, I'm Chris Cervantes. I'm with the Cooperative Development Institute. We work with about 28 residential communities here in New England. And in regards to this grant proposal, like Deb was saying, there's a process in which the applicant, the town, would have to create an account with HUD, with the DHCD. So yeah, I guess that'd be something that I think you're the grants manager would have to do, and then create and then get approved by their admin. So we wouldn't be able to supply a draft proposal of exactly that nature. Yeah.
What will we need to do here?
Well, I think we should see what exactly you're looking for. I know you've given an overview of the project, but maybe you could take a prior year's application and fill it out in a form. We just, you're asking us to submit an application. We're not quite sure what that looks like. So I know you have to create the portal, but maybe you could take a prior year. I know they don't typically change much year to year, and just fill it out and show us exactly what you're looking for.
Mhm.
I think that would be beneficial.
We haven't done it on a prior year, this is the first time.
Have you-
The one I gave you was actually federal funding through Senator Warren, so it's different.
Mhm.
But the project is the same, the information would be the same. Eliza and Chris did have a meeting with HUD yesterday, Chris?
Yeah.
And we can be a sub-grantee, which takes a lot of the work off the town. And you can actually designate what part you want to be involved in and what part you want us to be involved in. So
I think though, I kind of agree with Cody that I'm not sure, I kind of have to see what I'm being asked to approve. So
Sure.
the only way we can do that is on the computer. We can't.
Well, I did give you a whole printout of the whole thing, except the application, because you can't get to it. But I did give you probably 40 pages of what this is.
Okay.
Other communities have done it for resident-owned communities, and they have done it for trees.
Right. So we did make contact with someone from DHCD, but they wouldn't supply us with anything to make a draft proposal.
Sure.
It's something that I think the town would have to kind of get
But
on.
so you're asking us to actually fill out the application?
That's what's required.
You'd at least have to make an account with DHCD to get an idea for the portal and that sort of thing. We do have screenshots and other sort of things, so they have guidance and all that, but we can't go ahead and make an account. They can let us edit it and view it, but we'd have to make the account
Right,
first.
so just so we're clear, so the town has to establish this account or portal or whatever, and then the town has to fill out the paperwork, right? That's what you think has to happen here? I'm just not clear as to what we're supposed to do. That's all.
Sure. I think that the very first step would be to create this account and make contact with DHCD on the town's behalf. And then I think it'd become a little bit more clear.
Okay, let me ask the tree warden, do you have any thoughts about any
I've
of this?
never heard of this happening before, but what other towns have done this before, so at least we would call it and see how they did.
So I know that Maine has had success with the CDBG grant. And from personal preliminary research that I've done, I've seen that HUD has granted tree removal as one of the eligibility requirements. They've gone ahead and let tree removal be something that fits those requirements. But yeah, I mean, they have a whole list of things that make grantees eligible for the funds. There's things like contamination of soil, tree disease in trees, and that sort of thing. I'm not sure what the exact nature of what's up with the trees.
I mean,
in
like
Halifax,
another
but-
town that has done this program, so we can call that town and say, how do you guys go about
Sure.
doing this?
Sure, yeah.
Because one of the other things is it's a private, it's not town-owned land, so that's another issue.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that there, as Deb was saying, sub-grantees are able to receive those funds, whether or not they are private or public companies or private.
I think we understand all that, but I think that the issue that we're trying to come to grips here is how to go about doing this
Sure.
in terms of not only just getting in touch with, setting up an account or a portal, that seems pretty easy. But I think what Mr. Haywood's talking about is, well, if we have to receive the funds and we have to oversee the project, how would that work, especially when we're talking about private property? That's why he's, I think, looking for some guidance, maybe if, like,
Sure.
Bridgewater or some other town has done something similar, we could talk to them and say, okay, how did you do this, so we know what we're getting into?
Mhm.
So I think that's where we are right here. You know? I don't think we have any disagreement that the grant's a good idea.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
more a
And
matter of
actually,
getting
you
it done.
can designate that we do the hiring. It does have to be prevailing wage,
Yeah.
but you can designate that that is a portion that we will do. You could have it so that you're just overseeing the invoices, which in this case is one. One invoice is one to vendor. It's not like building a building where you're going to need an architect and an OM and all these people. It's one project, one vendor, so it's quite simple.
All right.
I think if you could provide us with other communities that have done this in the area, I know you said Maine has done it.
Yeah.
I know it is federal funding, but it still goes through DHCD. I'm familiar with the CDBG program. I'm not familiar with sub-granting out to a private entity. So that's where if you could give us some examples,
Sure.
then it helps us to provide the information to the board and allows them to make an informed decision.
Sure, yeah.
Is there a deadline, a time frame on
March
this?
3rd.
March 3rd, yeah.
March 3rd, so we have to do something fairly soon.
Right.
Can you get some information to Cody
I was about to ask.
tomorrow?
Sure, yeah.
We can't put it on tomorrow's agenda. But we can figure out a way to handle it before March 3rd.
Okay, yeah.
We do have another meeting in February,
Yeah.
When is that?
28th.
Okay.
So, but assumedly, if you can put all these pieces together before that, then on the 28th, you can push a button and we're done, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
for the 29th.
Uh-huh.
But I think, you know, we just don't understand what's going on, that's the problem.
Right.
So we'd like to know, I
Sure.
think that the tree warden, which is our highway surveyor, which is our cemetery superintendent, got a lot of hats. He knows a lot.
Right.
But he, you know, he wants to know, you know, what responsibility he's going to have, and we
Sure.
want to know what responsibility we have.
course.
So if we can just get a little more information on that, I don't think it would be a problem. So if you can work with Cody, and Cody
Yeah.
will talk with Steve Hayward, and maybe we can move this along a little bit faster.
Yeah, I'll send over all the stuff I have.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, anything else that we can do on this? Anything else you want to tell us about it? I mean, we know the project, we know the need.
Right.
Just a matter of
I mean,
getting it done.
I think it's something that probably you haven't done before,
No?
but in cities and towns, it's done quite often. You can do them for even a private developer. You can do them for a nonprofit. So that is what's required, that it has to be done on our behalf,
Mhm.
and then we're a sub-grant.
Right, so we've never done it, so we're just not sure how to go about it.
Well, there's always a first time, isn't
No, I'm
there?
not saying we won't. Actually, it's exciting to do something new, don't you think?
Well, it is, because what a feather in your cap if you can get this done.
We don't need any more feathers.
I can assure you, CDI will publicize it, won't they?
Oh, yeah, I'll post it on the Facebook page, yeah.
Okay, so you'll talk with Cody maybe
Sure, yeah.
tomorrow, and he'll talk with Steve, and then between the two of them, they'll have it all figured out in about a couple of days.
Okay, great, thank
All
you.
right, good. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. So it's only 6:15.
Yeah, that's 16.
At 6:15, yeah, okay, I guess we can go to that. All right, so 6:15, we got the park commissioners, who I see haunting the hallway. You're welcome to come inside. And
$5 cover.
Police chief is here. Come on right up front. Come on right up front. Attaboy. You're used to sitting up front. Okay, I saw a big paper on this that somebody sent to us about use of $50,000.
So there was two letters. One was more for the chief's expertise to be here with questions on clarifications that Parks was looking for last June. And one was in regards to the recreational improvements grant. Yeah, this was the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's,
All right,
yeah.
So the first letter you sent to us, since the chief is here, we'll just start with that. Clarification request of the Board of Selectmen was sent in June and in January. I'm just going to summarize this. It just says, a discussion about Linden Street, beach area, boat ramp, activities, and I'll apologize in advance. This board is new to this issue this time. I definitely remember problems over on the beach from years ago. I don't know exactly what this one's about, so maybe you want to tell us that to start, and then we'll ask what do you want us to do.
Yeah, we had a huge uptake of people using the beach areas, the boat launch, the boat ramp, 58, park a Walmart, going over the beach, parking in the beach, jet skis all over the place a couple times. It settled down after a while, but it was, kind of chaotic. A lot of non-residents enjoying the water down there. We got it nice and clean finally, and now everybody wants to go swimming in it. So there was a lot of stuff that the parks really, the ticket structure, the signage down there, it all needs to be updated to somewhat degree. So that's why I asked certain questions, 3, 4, 5, non-resident beach access, residential parking stickers, maybe making it more available or easier. Enforcement, I mean, they're stretched pretty thin. They can't be down there monitoring the beach
Okay.
property. When we get a call, we like to try to head it off ahead a little bit. So these are what we came up with last year, based off of what we witnessed.
Okay, so you're talking about some sort of a plan for the coming season?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are just,
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry. These are just, random questions we came up with. We write tickets. Where do they go? How do we enforce them? Do we want to look at non-resident fees? Revenues to come in? I don't know. Other ways to looking at the property down there, because it's just been kind of.
Are we talking just about the Lincoln Street Beach, or you're also talking about the Route 58 boat?
No, that's,
That's state, we can't really do nothing in there.
no, but that's access for a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's one of the issues, is they access the boat ramp, and with the jet skis, and then they come on shore. Obviously, we don't have the resources to patrol the water. We've been in contact with the EPOs, they'll come down. Obviously, again, they're short-staffed as well. So I think we had sent some recommendations to the board. I think, if I remember correctly, that it would, if we're gonna do it the right way, it's gonna cost some money. We need to fix the parking lot across the street to have more parking. I had brought up if we're gonna have resident parking only, that we have somebody man it, whether it be a high school kid for summer or one of the park commissioners. Obviously, they're stretched thin, but it's a lot easier for us to enforce it before they get into the parking lot itself. Because what happens is that, a bunch of cars go in, no one's monitoring if they're residents or non-residents, and then there's an issue, we get called out there, and then we're asking for people for IDs. Most people don't carry IDs in their swimwear. It gets to be a whole issue there, So I think we had talked before about making new signage more visible with the rules. We have a list of items that the park commissioners wanted to see, as warnings to people. Have somebody, an attendant there, because the area itself is pretty well fenced off, so you can monitor traffic and in and out. If we decide to allow resident parking there, well then, maybe a fee. I was looking through the stuff, non-resident fee, $20 a day, or the residents obviously, if they get their sticker, part of the recycling program, they get access. If not, they get a sticker for residents. This way, it makes it easier for us, because the last thing I want to do is get into argument with somebody that, well, you know, my uncle lives here, or, you know, and then the other thing too is that the issue with people walking, parking at the Walmart and walking. If I live on Lincoln Street and I don't have parking, and I tell my family to park on Walmart and then walk to the beach, how are we going to enforce that? And so it gets into a lot of issues there that I don't really want to get into. So I think maybe the signage, to have that presence there at the beginning of the season, we have that extra staff member now that, you know, won't be at the schools that I can throw up there to do some more enforcement. But again, once they're in the water, it's you know, unless we're going to put an article in for a boat. You know,
We've had.
it's just understanding. But again, even if we get the, like, so even if we get the boat, then it's a matter of like staffing it, because like I know I had been in contact with Chief Dufley over in Carver. They have a boat. He's willing to let us, you know, borrow the boat, have one of his operators. Again, then we have to put one of our officers on the boat. EPO, same thing. Last year, they came down. They were supposed to come down. The lieutenant that was in charge was the only one that took the overtime. He couldn't fill it throughout the whole entire environmental police. It's a whole, again, nobody wants to, you know, put in the extra time.
They're thinned out too.
Yeah, I mean, they're like 100. I didn't realize that they have like 130 officers for the whole entire state. So it's you know, they're short-staffed.
And you said they were saying that we're getting calls all the time.
Yeah,
We can't even.
and this is happening, and that's the thing too, it's not just happening in Halifax, it's happening in any of these south, you know, North Shore, South Shore, because what happens is, you know, we do allow the motorized, you know, the boats and the jet skis, so it's actually on one of these recreational websites where they say, you know, East and West Pond are a great place to jet ski. So people from Boston and stuff, they're looking for places like that, and so they'll come down here. That's what happened last year. At the beginning of the season, we got an influx of people from, you know, from Revere, from Boston, you know, I mean, it was like from Rhode Island. It was out of control there for a little bit.
Okay, we got some questions, so Mr.
Yeah.
Goodman, you had your hand up first?
Yeah, Steve Goodman, 24th Ave. I live right there at the corner of that ramp. And when I moved into town, I was told that was, because I had a family member park in front of my house, I was told that was the emergency access in case there's an emergency on that lake. There's no sign that says that. So people park there all the time, and he's correct. What happens is they will drop their jet skis over at the ramp into the water. They will drive over with the rest of their entire family and park there, and then shuttle people back and forth. They'll park the extra cars on the state ramp, and they will come over 10, 15 trips, 2 at a time on a jet ski, until the beach is packed with people who don't live here. And I was told, I have a friend that works for the EPO. He said, what happened at the beginning of the season last year, there were 3 lakes in Plymouth that outlawed jet skis, and then you saw them all come here. And I've seen them harass people, literally doing donuts around people in kayaks. They cut into the swimming area. I think signs would be helpful. I think enforcement right at the beginning would make a big difference. I try to tell everybody I can as they go down the road, like, hey, you can't park here. I've called the police a few times when it's gotten rowdy.
Is that at the ramp? I'm sorry.
At the ramp, yeah. I live on the corner of 4th.
There are signs though, but there's not enough signs.
There's no parking signs. There's not a single sign that says this is emergency access only.
Oh.
So people just leave their trailer there.
Yeah, signage is bad there, and that's one of the recommendations we made. And I know that we had ordered new buoys and new signage, and it took basically all summer. I think Tommy finally got them. I think they're stored, so we'll be able to put them out this year. You know, no wake area, all that other stuff. And again, I think so. If we're gonna, you know, it's gonna cost the town a little bit of money for the proper signage. You know,
Who provided the sign, which,
well,
like from the Parks
the
Department?
buoys and the stuff came out of my budget, because I usually needed to get the stuff, but obviously because of COVID and it was just supplied, we never got the stuff in. We did get replacement buoys and warning signs for no wake area, within so many feet. So at least a visual warning for these.
There's a sign at the state ramp that might be helpful that we don't have over there, because a lot of people don't know, I didn't know, that the no wake zone is obviously within so many feet of bathing area. It's also in any lake with this kind of depth, it's within 150 feet of shore. You can't have a jet ski operated at all, other than when you go in and go out. You can't be within 150 feet of the shore. That kind of shrinks the lake down, might make it a little less appealing,
Yeah.
if that's more widely known.
All right, so
that's what-
take one little step, well, actually, you have, go ahead.
Yeah,
You have to just tell us who you are.
oh, Bill Pond, 40 Oak Place.
Thank you.
I understand right now we use the reclamation stickers, that's how we get on the beach and all.
Recycling.
Recycling.
Recycling. The town of Marshfield uses a similar thing. They buy their stickers, and then if somebody doesn't belong there, they charge them a fee. You know, so if we had somebody, and we're making money to have the, I don't know what you do about somebody walking on the beach or, you know, the other problem,
I
but
think the chief was suggesting something like that, but, so let me go back to the sign thing to start with, because that sounds like the easiest first step. Do we have signs, or do we need signs?
There's a lot of antiquated signs out there. The budget for parks is, just about at rock bottom.
Well,
So there's been no, and now that the lakes are clean, I think everybody's having COVID and everybody home, they're finding outdoors again.
so I know, so we need to buy signs, is that, okay.
Yeah.
So, we haven't even opened the warrant yet for the town meeting, so there's no reason why we can't get a figure and put that on this year.
No, absolutely not.
And how long does it take to have the signs made? Like,
Well, last time, we had Lydell Brothers make up signs for when the beaches were closed, and those came in pretty quickly. I don't know, I mean, obviously, I don't know if we'd have to get a bid or any, I know that's,
But there is, but that leads us into the next part. If there's money available through that grant, that'll, make a lot of this.
Oh, okay. All right, so the money's not a problem.
Well, I don't know that yet. We haven't got to that part yet. But this is what we talked about. We had a different board last time. This gentleman was here,
Yeah.
and it was a long time ago. Even though it was only 9 months, it's a long time.
So,
So I just wanted to,
so it sounds like the very first step is to get the signage up. I mean, the next question becomes, do you want to have a person there, like an attendant of some sort at some point in time?
that would be my recommendation. I know, and if you could reach, I mean, high school kids are always looking for jobs. I know, like from when I lived in Dartmouth, Dartmouth's got town beaches, there'd be an attendant there, and then this way, they handle the issue there. Then there's a confrontation, which obviously we wouldn't want to have, a high school kid in the confrontation. That's when they call 911. This way, we can react to it then, not after the people have, unloaded their stuff, they're out on the beach, and then they're like, where do you live? I'm not telling you where I live. This is the whole thing. This is a free country. I'm not giving you my ID, all that stuff. So, so I mean, I think signage first. Looking at possibly an attendant there. We have the new fence there now, so it's it's not like we have many different ways to get into the beach, the parking area. Then we have the additional parking across the street that's overgrown. That needs to be cut back somehow. So it's good that Steve's here. So there's a bunch of issues there.
How about, and so the attendant would have to be responsible for both the across the street line and this one here?
I don't,
I think more the I guess.
Are we also comfortable putting a teenager in that position? I mean, I'm assuming they'd have
it
some
could be as a
communication, but-
lifeguard.
There'll be another thing for this town to suggest to have lifeguards, which I guess you had in the past, but
We've
you
had
haven't
in the
had.
past,
Yeah.
And they've had radios
Yeah.
to contact if they
I
want.
mean, we have plenty of extra radios we could give them if they, that's not an issue.
the high school kids in Marshfield do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know in Dartmouth it's high school kids, in New Bedford it's high school kids.
Okay.
I mean, this is kind
lifeguards.
of a clarification of what questions, what answers, what tickets, what authority we have. The last number 5 is about to talk to the attorney, we don't really know what our boundaries are as a park commission, because it's been kind of
Oh.
dialed down quite a bit.
Well, that
So a lot of
actually fits
these,
in well with the
are
topics we
kind of
want to
legal.
talk about.
I'm sorry.
One of the topics we do want to talk about are training for boards and committees. And do you feel that you need to know right now
No.
what the Parks Commission does, or can I put that on as part of our training as we go along over time?
We just don't know the extent of where we're supposed to be. Is it just
Okay.
Lincoln Street Beach? Is it the ramp on 36? Is it the parking lot? We don't know where we are, what we're supposed to be taking care of, what our responsibilities are in specific, that it relates to our town.
Let me suggest this on that topic. So why don't we ask you to sit down with Cody, pull out the bylaws that we have, see if it is going to be something that we can agree on now. And if not, then we'll authorize Cody to talk with town council to the extent it's needed. Okay, but
Yeah,
it
that's
seems like
fine.
that's the best place to start. Like, why don't we just sit down and look at what we have, and then move that next step? Because I don't know that this is really a legal issue, like exactly what parts of this are you supposed to be. I think it's more of an issue with how our own town government is run, right? Like, I know you're responsible for
Specific
like,
to
the
this
basketball
town.
court over there on 36, right?
I'm sorry?
I know you're responsible for like the basketball court.
My understanding right now is youth takes care of that right now.
Okay, see, so that's the kind of thing
So,
that.
that's what I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I know
just-
the bylaws give them the beach on Lincoln Street and then
Yeah.
the section of beach on 36.
Okay.
That's the only thing, the only two areas that I mentioned. The other, like the basketball, I think basketball courts, all that, so I think that's part of the
So that's-
recreation.
Well,
I think this is a good
it's
top-
been taken care of by rec
Yeah.
for the court.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
great,
But I
we
think-
get something here.
But I think that's the best place for us to start, is if we sit down with the bylaws, and Cody will be pretty easy to handle that. And then if we have any questions after that, then we can address
That's
it.
fine, yeah, because right now we're like,
Yeah, okay, no, that's good.
we got a
That's good.
spot that was donated to Parks, to the town, next to the Congregational Church. There's a pretty big open area there that could be utilized for something in the future.
It's all wooded, yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's,
there's 100, things going on with 100
that's
different things.
Uran Park.
I mean, there's other-
U-R-A-N, Uran. You know who that was?
No.
It was a big cranberry grower years and years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Jordan Hospital has a whole wing set up for Uran. That we were very fortunate to get that, but no one ever uses it. It's just wooded right now.
Well, I think it ended up, we dumped everything in there because they stopped us burning. Was that? Is that what happened? So now everything that comes off the road ends up in there and it renders it
Yeah.
useless.
We
And
should look at that someday. That's a good idea.
so, I mean, this,
Mr. Winowitz had a question.
Chris Winowitz, 129 Circuit Street. Maybe the chief can just clarify, but I've always heard too, part of the problem is if you read our bylaws, it only specifically refers to resident-only parking, not actually the use of the beach.
Right,
There's nothing in the bylaw that says like someone can't walk there or non-resident use the beach.
that's right, because,
It sounds like that's part of the problem too when they fill up the beach.
exactly, right, that's the whole thing that we've, that we're taking, we can't, limit people to walk into a beach, that's,
On the following question you have is with this $50,000 money, and I don't know the answer to this, but suppose that we decided to go with an attendant, would that money be used to pay for the attendant?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't recommend it, because you don't want to use one-time revenue for recurring expenses.
I agree.
All right, so if you want to go the route of an attendant, well, that's definitely something we're going to have to put on the warrant and come up with a figure for how much.
We haven't received a budget request in yet from Parks. Parks could incorporate it into their budget request to Finance Committee.
Do we have, I think in the wage and personnel bylaw, don't we have a position like that, a parks something or another?
We have a lifeguard position. I don't know if we have a Parks position or not.
Would we have to create?
We may need to. We may need to. I don't know how it would fit in, like youth and rec has certain positions. I don't think it would actually, in attendant, wouldn't actually fit into those though. I'd have to look at it closer.
Because if that's the case, then we're past the deadline for the public hearing.
Yep.
We can't create a new position.
Yep.
So that's probably not going to happen this year.
Well, if we have a lifeguard position and the duties are ABC,
Really had to be like that.
That's another topic for Cody to spend tomorrow with.
well, I mean, I'm just, the way I understood this is that we get a letter in requesting that we can get access to this.
Yeah.
So, and we described in here what we would like to do with that money.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're switching topics off of the beach to the money.
Oh, I thought we already did.
Well, not exactly, but
Okay.
we have now.
Well, they kind of could help both topics.
Yeah. All right, so you're talking, it's $30,000, is that what it says?
What's
50. 50. Oh, 50,000, there it is. Okay, so $50,000 for recreation improvements, and that's from the earmark money that the town got just this past fall. Okay, and so your plan for that was to do what?
ended before it's gone?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
Is the money, you know, we were asked to put it in. I don't know if the money's available. It has to be spent by the end of June. July 1st has to be gone. We gotta, so I just want to put it in to see, rather than spending a lot of hours into getting your solid numbers to do this, I wanted to make sure that we're able to do this. Are we?
So let me ask the town accountant, since she's here anyway, what has to happen for this money to be approved?
Well, the state gave the money to the town, so it would be up to the selectmen to say, I believe it would be up to the selectmen to say who could, where the money would be spent.
Okay.
But again, as Cody said, it's one-time money, so it would be spent on one-time uses.
Okay, so some of that could be improvements along the beach that we're talking about?
Signage.
And so do you have a plan for any of the rest of it? I mean, we've got to end it by July,
Right.
so,
What we are working on, if I can just, let's see, currently Parks is working on a WPA Form 2 determination of applicability for beach nourishment and reconditioning down there, because the beach has been trees, stumps, washout, the roads washing into the lake, you know, it's a mess down there. It needs some attention. So in order to get that, we need mapping, drawings, documents. Webby Engineer, Grady Consulting, to give us a plan so we can submit with our WPA Form 2 determination to
okay.
Conservation and DEP to get approval so we can move forward. Because the sand, the grass is growing in, the sand is...
Okay. So what do you want to take
So
some
that's
of this
just-
money for that?
Well, that's one item for engineering and for getting the filing done and the drawings.
Okay.
That's one area. They've also, there's no picnic tables around, they're 100 years old. Most of them aren't even handicapped.
Okay.
We also have a feasibility study that came in that's asking to upgrade accessibilities for handicap, also in town. That was my third paragraph down on this. As Parks is in receipt of accessibility plan last year on the recreational facilities assessment plan reflecting many areas for improvements, upgrades, boat ramp areas, handicap accessible parking areas, etc.
Okay.
Notable example, you know, like notable examples is one picnic table.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's like 20 pages that refer to Parks on improvements that needs to be done. There were dollar amounts assigned to it.
Okay.
And we can come up with Parks can come up with all that information, but we want to make sure we're wasting our time getting that information. Is we're going to find out we're only going to get, you know, partial of it. That's
So, I'm not sure on that money, maybe, you know?
Well, just, I remember speaking with a member of the Parks, and they were very interested in using the money for improvements. So I said, "You come to us with what you want to do." I agree, it's an area that kind of has fallen on some tough times lately. I was there in the spring cleaning it up, and it is kind of a mess. And I think we have a good problem here in that our water is getting better, so we're getting more access, and I think we were surprised a little bit by how much access people wanted last spring and summer. So I think, if you're okay with this, John, put a plan together, you know, give us numbers, give us what you guys want to do, and I'd be open to that.
I think that's what we
It's good
do.
use of money.
I think
Yeah.
so. I mean,
But we need kind of,
so my only question was that $50,000 is, I'll get to Steve in just a second, but that $50,000 has to go to,
One of these projects.
it has to go to
recreation
Recreation improvement.
improvements, and I would argue that's a recreation improvement.
No, wait, and the reason why is because rec might have some things that they would like also. I don't know what they are, to what extent. I know that I think Parks has been taking the shot in for a long time, and I was hoping maybe they didn't have as much. So what amounts could we be looking at?
I told Tommy to hurry up and put it in before Dick put it in, so, just on the record.
So, not to,
okay.
and I don't want to go down, I don't want to come up with any specific numbers, but I don't know what rec might want to
It's
get out
hard
of
to,
this, or...
it's hard to okay it if we, you
Yeah.
just need a ballpark on what you need, you need
Okay.
Well,
numbers.
I'm looking at engineering is just 10 grand. The tables, we're looking at a range from $500 to $2,000.
Even if you get us a list, and we can cherry pick the
Yeah,
things
sure.
that we need the most, and kind of go from there.
But when it comes down to it, we need hard numbers because it has to be billed, spent by July 1st.
Well, that's not a problem. I mean, as long as we have a budget I think what we're talking about is we just want to have an idea of what we're doing.
Right.
And then as it comes in, we can spend it. That's not a problem. You know, if it comes in under budget, over budget, that's always the case. But we know we have a limited $50,000 to work with.
Right.
We'll check with Youth and Rec just to see if they have any input in any of this. And if you can give us that list, then we'll just start working on it. That's not-
So we can give you a list, but we got to tighten it when it comes time.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, when the 50 runs out, the 50 runs out.
No, I get it. Well, I mean, we have,
So why don't you
it has a
prioritize?
sunset.
So why don't you prioritize, like, if, 10 grand is gonna be for, what did you say, highways?
Engineering.
Engineering, right? So if that's the number one,
Yeah.
you write, and then, and if the picnic
that's,
tables are number 10, then that's the thing that'll get cut if the engineering takes 12,000.
Right, or,
Make a list of,
Yeah.
first we'd like this, then we'd like that, then we'd like this.
So let me get to Mr. Hill, if you guys
Well,
can.
you had to talk about what I suggest let them get all the money this time, because Youth and Rec, they get money every now and then from other things. Parks have been neglected forever, so on this grant, I think they should get it all.
Okay, well, let's do it all.
Nothing against Youth and Rec, it's just,
no, absolutely
it's
not.
been neglected for so long.
It could definitely use it down there, and I think it has a chance to be a really beautiful spot if we clean up.
Make it a little more attractive so we have...
So we get more people.
Right.
Oh, no, our residents would enjoy
Double-edged
it.
sword.
Yeah.
Our residents would enjoy it more
Sure.
if it's brought up.
We won't fix the road leading up to it.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so if you can do that, just give us your plan,
Okay.
and we'll start, I guess all we have to do is just approve the bills.
Is the money in there?
We have to apply, we have to fill out, Cody's working on it.
Oh, okay.
So,
So is it tied to Parks for that, or he can take care of that without our input?
No.
I'm not spending the money.
We're
I'm
not
just getting
spending
the money
it.
into the
We're
state.
trying to get it in the house, so that we can spend it.
Cody's the
We
legislator.
haven't got,
So do you get the 50 in the house and then you spend it and what you don't goes back?
well, so there's different ways that they've been handling the earmarks. Some are reimbursement, and some are, they'll give you the money up front. Cody was looking into the information to see which this is.
Okay.
either way, get your plan together and get it to us so we can start spending.
And put your wish list, Mike, if you can, in order of importance.
Yeah, no, that was a good point.
We'll
yes.
make that kind of ballpark, so.
It's fine, great, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, no worries.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right, so we're a little bit behind.
Thanks Pam for setting up the meeting.
Steve King. Come on up, Mr. King. sorry that we're running late, but
My fault.
Oh, it's all good.
we talk too much. I
All
know.
right with me, I've got all night.
I'm not here, you want to?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm Stephen King,
Okay.
497 South Street. I'm here representing the Helping Hands Food Pantry, right across the parking lot here. Our hope is that we can start a farmer's market here on the town green and possibly use the Great Hall. I've provided your secretary with dates. The idea of this is that it helps to fund the food pantry. We serve a lot of people, more and more every day. Food uncertainty and such as that, we're all privately funded, so it's not, we don't get grants and we don't get anything from the state or anybody else, so.
Okay, so, let's see. You want to use the town green between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on these various dates, these Saturdays. Vendors will be responsible for everything. Okay, and market manager, is that one of your people? Or
Well, that would be me, unfortunately. I guess I've been appointed.
You got a title.
Yeah.
All right, so Pam, have we looked at these dates?
They're all open, and I already put his name on the calendar, just,
All right, good. All right, so,
I think it's exciting. I think it's great. Is there a way, so Steve, how does the pantry benefit from holding these? Are you charging vendor fees? or-
We'll charge vendor fees. Our benefit will be from the space rental.
Sure.
The vendors will sell their wares and make their money from that.
Are you looking into like a flat fee situation or a percent of their sales, or?
No, it'll be a flat fee for a
Flat
space.
fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
and you'll do it on the front here, in the front of the town hall, that's the plan?
Yeah, out front here, maybe extending onto the lawn areas.
Okay.
Have you filed any sort, or you're gonna file an event form, I would guess, with the Board of Health?
I do whatever we need to do. I don't know the ins and outs of all that.
I'm just thinking, like, do we need porta potties, that kind of thing? I'm hoping it's big, I'm hoping it's successful, and we get a lot of people.
Well,
So if that's the case, we
yeah,
might need to take.
we'll certainly do porta potties if necessary. Like, if we do the Great Hall, then we hope to use some of
Okay.
this and
All right.
possibly the church's
Okay.
Okay.
facilities.
All the parking will be in the lot back here, I assume?
We'll pack all the vendors back there for certain. We wouldn't put them on the lawns.
What about the customers?
Customers, well, we have parking back here also.
I don't think this would be in police detail, but we should probably ask the police chief just to take a look at it. Too bad he left. It would have been helpful to ask him then.
Yeah.
So,
And we know we spill over into other activities around the area, so, I mean,
which is actually
That's good.
beneficial.
we hope to draw from
Get a
that.
captive audience.
Yes,
That's good.
yeah.
All right,
They'll already be parked somewhere, so.
so I'll move that we approve the dates listed, I'll just list them for the public. May 20th, June 3rd, 10th and 24th, July 1st, 15th and 29th, August 12th and 26th, September 2, 16 and 30, and October 14 and 28. And the motion would be also that they have to check with the Board of Health to make sure that their requirements are satisfied, and check with the police chief. It's all contingent on their approval of whatever plan you come up with.
And I think, just for you, Steve, really quick, I think the only date that I'm looking at there that might be an issue is July 1st, where I believe, I don't know if it's officially, but I believe we're looking at July 2nd for fireworks. So I don't know if you want to just give a quick shout to the fireworks committee and make sure that, I don't think they're going to need the town green for any of their activities, but if they want to look at doing any sort of
It's always
events on the green.
something that could be included into it.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I mean, we're more than happy to cooperate with.
I think this is a nice thing, you have a farmer's market in town.
They're
I attend one in Carver every week through the summer. On Sundays, I sell down there. It's a nice atmosphere.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a good activity.
That's great.
So Mrs. Reagan has questions.
I just had one question on that. They did that actually in Brockton, they've done it in other towns, vendor cleanup, and so one was an issue. So I just wanted to mention it, if there is going to be defined, how to, there's a process by which you would clean up afterward, the vendors and so on, like the papers and things like that, wrappers and things were left. Some of the produce, so that wasn't used. So I was just curious.
As manager, it'd be my responsibility to check their sites when they're done, to check the entire area when it's over. If there's additional cleanup that needs to be done, we'll certainly take care of it at that time.
I envisioned him like at the end of Carol Burnett with the mop.
I mean, this is not going to happen, but assuming that we had a group like this that was trying to do some sort of project like that, and they just left the place into disaster, well, they're not coming back. We'll just revoke permission, and that's the end of that.
It'd be pretty obvious to see, like, if there's, heads of broccoli left behind, it's the broccoli vendor. Not the pie vendor.
We intend to
No,
have,
that's not the case, so I'm not concerned with that.
we intend to have rules for the vendors to follow. If they don't follow them,
By the way, you're not going to use any amplified music or anything, right? Because if you do, you need a permit for that separately.
yeah, I've thought of that. That's something that we would like to.
If you want to, you got to just talk to Pam about an application for that.
Yep.
And of course, you don't have the authority for any kind of liquor or anything like that. It would have to be everything but just.
Yeah, I haven't asked Chase the liquor thing yet, but maybe we'll be back.
I'm not saying no. I'm just saying you just got to file out the permission.
Tell them there's a chance.
Well, they do a lot of during a lot of these things. They'll have brewery, the local breweries, or wine tasting, or something. So it's always.
If you get that you just have to get follow different procedures for that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so contingent on the Board of Health, the Police Department approval, and the dates is listed. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
I'm excited. Good luck.
Thank you for that. It's a very positive thing.
I've got a lot of work ahead of me, I think.
Now, let us know if we can do anything.
I will.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So our next appointment's not till 7:30, so we have some time to work from here. Oh, you guys are all in on that? Good. You too?
How are you?
Good, good.
Good to see you.
I gave Hannah a ride home.
Oh, thank you.
No, from midterms.
Okay.
So Rachel says, I put her with you because she's just like you. Kidding me. Talked all the way home. How you doing, John? John said hi to both of you.
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah. He's hanging in. He's hanging in.
All right.
Hanging in. Think positive.
Yeah, we will.
All right, so going back to our discussions, so we have a quote for the printing of the warrant, which I okay.
Those two. This is for 15 copies of the town report, 780.
Yep.
And then this would be for the warrant, 2176.
So two different things. Right?
Yeah.
We don't have to bid this, do we?
No, it's under 10,000.
All right, so we have a proposal for printing of the town report, 15 copies, approximately 160 pages, which $4.89 times 160 is $782.40. And then a second quote, this is from Harry V. Harding and Son, for the Finance Committee report in the annual town meeting warrant, special town meeting warrant book, 3,600 copies, approximately 40 pages each, for a total of $2,176. I would move that we accept these two bids. We use Harding has been printing stuff for us for a very long time.
I would second it, but I just want to check with Cody. I think this is a good decision here, but is there any movement on trying to get things more electronic? as far as town meetings and kind of eliminating some of this expense that we have to pay? Are you seeing that in
If I'm not mistaken, we still have a bylaw
We do, yeah.
that says that every resident has to get a copy.
There's also state law too that requires it.
I didn't know if will we have extras?
Speaking as moderator, which I was for a while, it is a lot easier to run the meeting if all of the residents have already gotten a copy of the warrant. And that way it avoids us having to recite it over and over again throughout the course of the meeting. You can say, well, it's printed in the warrant, everybody has a copy of the warrant. If they want to know, they can come and look at the actual warrant, but that's it. So it does make that process easier. I know it's expensive, but.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if during the town meeting, if it's easily accessible online for folks with their phones or whatever, they could follow along with the article on their phone instead of.
I think for this warrant, we've discussed potentially putting in a QR code, because we do put the warrant on our website anyways, but including a QR code, just, if it's used, it's great, it's easy for us to do. It makes it more accessible, that's something.
One idea that we never talked about is, you have a big TV screen here, but putting the article actually up for visual.
That's always been.
We could do it through a computer and screen, I assume.
Absolutely.
Didn't we do that last year on the first day?
Yes.
And the second day we did.
Second day you didn't.
Right, now it's actually pretty helpful having it on the large monitors.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for some reason it didn't take place on day 2.
I think we had some technical difficulties.
Was that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that worked pretty good.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, we actually hired a company to come in, and they had monitors on both sides of the gym and halfway down, so that, and for the extra room, because we had the all-purpose room was being used as well. And it worked out very well, but it was expensive to hire that company to wire everything. We tried to do it on our own last year, and we did have issues. So
it's something that we can fill in with.
We can look at it, absolutely.
But I think it'd be helpful.
Sure, and I know I've had a couple residents that are hearing impaired. I wanted to make sure that we try to do something to help with the acoustics and making sure that folks that are hearing impaired can hear. So, yeah. But I'm sorry, I'm sidetracked, so do you need a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Reappointment Brian Kling, Halifax Cultural Council, and 1 year further Cultural Council. I think he asked to be reappointed.
He did.
And,
I had asked him, and sent me an email saying he wanted to be appointed.
Okay. All right, I would move to reappoint Mr. Kling. I don't know what his term is in this one.
It's on the slip of paper.
Well, it's up here. Where is it?
January 28, 2026.
Oh, it's January 28, 2026. So I move to.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. All right. Next we have some town bank things here from Ruth Mills.
Yeah, so Ruth is looking to be on the Council on Aging Board.
All right. Is Ms. Mills here?
That's me.
She's right here.
All right. You want to do that? How come?
Well, as you may know, some of you may know that my husband and I moved here about 2 years ago this month, and we've been getting more involved, and I just want to help out any way I can. So the Council on Aging is of interest to me. One of the reasons we moved here is for my father-in-law, who's definitely in the aging category. My husband and I are also in it.
As am I.
Yes. So
we're all aging. So Mrs. Reagan's right behind you. She knows everybody.
Hello.
It is what it is. It's life.
So I'm a freelance book editor, so my time is my own. So that's nice. I can schedule my own time and schedule my projects. So I have a little bit of extra time to devote to volunteering.
Good.
And I just want to help.
How many spaces do we have open on that? Do you know?
2.
2. So this would fill 1.
That would fill 1.
And is this an unexpired term or a new term?
One is an unexpired, and the other one is expired, way expired.
Okay, so
yeah.
What do we
So
want?
this was.
You may want to, it's kind of the board's decision on how you want to handle the appointments. I don't know if the COA board has considered this yet.
Yes, they have.
They
Yep.
have?
Mhm.
Okay. So, and how you want to, if they take their recommendation and then move forward, it's,
I'm assuming they recommend.
Excuse me?
Have they've taken this up already?
Yes, we've had our meeting last month, and I mentioned the fact that, of course, Joe
I
had
see it in the back.
resigned
Also, we
in
have
December.
More board members in the back.
Yeah, that's what it is. She said, see, she'll bow for me. Stand up. I will bow.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, we had the
All right, so
meeting.
my question is, what's this
And-
term ending, do you know?
I don't know, because I'll have to go get a vote.
It should be in the minutes, right?
I was unbeknownst to me that she was going to be interviewed tonight, and I don't have a card for her, so I didn't have the term. That's what Cody was kind of
Enough excuses,
saying.
enough excuses, you know.
we weren't aware that the Council on Aging had already made a recommendation.
Okay, all right, so, as long as, once we get the date on the term, so, just so we have an accurate motion.
Do you want me to do, so when we were appointing a little earlier in the other administration, we had 4 questions we asked. Do you want me to let them fire?
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
Should have asked.
That's all right.
Oh, that's go right ahead.
Okay. Ruth, how long have you lived in Halifax?
It'll be 2 years next month.
Okay. What was the other one? Do you attend town meeting regularly
Yes,
in your 2 years?
yes, we
All
have.
right. Do you foresee any issues of commitment with making meetings, being involved, being an active participant on the committee?
I don't see any roadblocks.
Okay.
As of now.
And anything else, the last one's kind of open-ended, about yourself that you think you bring to the committee that would be an asset to the town?
I work hard. I try to cut to the chase. You can probably tell that I try to keep things moving and get things done, and just help to do that. So any way that I can be of service, I'm happy to do. I have done a lot of volunteer work earlier in my life. I volunteered when I lived in Manhattan. I volunteered at a soup kitchen for 10 years. I've done work with food pantries. I've done work with the Fresh Air Fund.
Okay.
I've done a lot of different organizations through New York Cares, which is a volunteer umbrella organization. So I'm also familiar with the process that once you start volunteering, if you show that you can get stuff done, you get pulled in to do more volunteering.
Amen. Amen.
So, but I'm happy to do that as much as I can.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah. She's already writing. She's already participating in a writing program on Fridays.
Okay.
Every month for the seniors. So that's going to be, and that's how I read. When I read a resume, I'm thinking, should be ideal for the board, and even just renewing a lot of the guidelines that is necessary right now for this particular group. So it should be an asset.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll have a motion to appoint Ruth Mills Walters to the Council on Aging with the term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard, Ruth. Thank you.
No, we have both of you.
We got way too many Walters in the mix. I don't know.
No, that's good.
This is a good thing.
We're the only 2 in Halifax.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
The rest are sprinkled in other parts of Massachusetts.
And I do want to say thank you to both Joe Schofield and Ivy Matheny for participating and being on the board at the time they could serve. So they were wonderful.
Those are the resignations?
Yes, those are
Okay.
resignations.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't
We'll
get
take
to
those
it.
up next.
It is put in there.
We'll take those up next, you're right. Okay. Okay, so going to the resignations, so we have a resignation from Dave Swanson from the Highway Department.
I gotta get it going.
Thank you. Thank you. This is addressed to Mr. Hayward, but I'm ready to let you know officially I will retire at the end of the workday on March 17th, 2023. It has been my pleasure to work for the Highway Department for the town of Halifax for the past 22 years. I'm looking forward to my last few months there. I will miss you all, but it is time for the next chapter of my life. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Dave Swanson. I guess that's a real loss for you, Steve.
Yep. He knows the roads pretty well.
So, do we accept this resignation, even though it's the Highway Department, or is it just for notification? Well, you can get it
for notification purposes.
So, I'll move to accept the resignation, retirement of Mr. Swanson, and also as Jonathan always suggests to write a letter of congratulations to him on all the work he did for us.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Resignation, Colleen Fiumara. All right. We have an email from Ms. Fiumara. Hello all, my apologies, I must resign my position on the Halifax Conservation Committee. My child care coverage has changed, so she can't make meetings any longer. Okay. So I will move that we accept the resignation of Ms. Fiumara, again with a letter thanking her for her service.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We have two resignations from the Council on Aging. First one is from Joe Schofield. And I don't think we have any particular letters from that, do we?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. This is to the Council on Aging. As of January 2023, I'm resigning from the Council on Aging Board as a member and as chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the senior population of this town for more than 25 years in so many areas. It's been a rewarding experience. I plan to stay a volunteer for coffee hours and continue to represent Council on Aging, the Triad, Ms. Joe Schofield. So I would...
It's just an email from Darlene.
I would move that we accept Ms. Schofield's resignation from the Council on Aging, and similarly with a letter.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Then we have Ivy Matheny.
Matheny.
Ivy Matheny, thank you. Again, a letter from Ivy Matheny. The letter is to inform you I'm resigning from the Council of Aging Board of Directors. She just is not able to do the commitments any longer, and so she would send a letter, which she doesn't need to do. So I would move that we accept the resignation from Ms. Matheny with a letter as indicated.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, next thing up would be cemetery deeds. So, do we need to?
You don't have to vote on it, you just have to
vote
sign
on it or
it.
just
Yeah,
sign
Just sign it.
So, sign this one.
I'll sign that. Yeah, you sign it.
Okay.
Your signature's more majestic than mine.
Just practicing.
Yeah, yes.
All right. All right. Vote and approve Plymouth County ARPA grant agreement. Can you explain to us?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of the American Rescue Plan, the town received funding, but also the county received some of the funding, and that's to be dispersed to the individual communities. So there's a couple projects that the board has already approved for that funding. There's some HVAC renovations over at the schools, and there's some water treatment plant upgrades that have been approved, some funding for that. So in order for us to apply for that money through the county, they require a grant agreement. So it's basically this agreement. Just need the board to vote on it and sign it so we can start to utilize that funding.
So we're voting to accept the grant agreement? Or
To approve the grant agreement with the Plymouth County.
So I would move that we approve the grant agreement for the ARPA funds with Plymouth County.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. I'll sign that here. All right. We have a open meeting law complaint of the January 24th, 2023 meeting that we need to talk about.
Yes, so during the January 24th meeting, we received an open meeting law complaint. The law requires that we discuss the complaint and send a response of the action. The complaint has a few allegations. The first being that the meeting was held in a room that required observers and attendees to stand in violation of the open meeting law. And for that, we did have enough seating. There was, participants chose to stand, so we can't force people to sit. So that would be my recommended response for that. The second is they did not approve the minutes of their July 6, 2022 and October 25th, 2022 meetings in a timely manner. The open meeting law requires that you approve minutes within 3 meetings or 30 days, whichever is later, except for under extreme circumstances. We'll work to get the minutes approved in a more timely fashion. As you know, there's been some turnover within town, a new administrator coming in, and with the board changing, we're working to get all the minutes up to date. So we'll do our best to get those. You know, it is what it is, but you know, we'll certainly work to make sure that's done.
What you put back in the response to this?
We can, yeah, we'll put that. You know, we'll make an effort to get these up to date.
We're approving minutes from times I know I wasn't here, and I think you were either.
Right.
So it's not, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
We're
right.
not here anymore.
Yeah, we're like I said, Pam's been working, and Irma in the office have also been working to get these done. So we're doing our best, but you know.
Okay. The January 2024 meeting we held in this room, and it was it did have 2 or 3 different topics that brought individual crowds, and some of those, one of them was the Pride Day thing out on the front lawn, and there was 2 or 3 other ones, but a lot of folks were in the hallway only because they didn't want to be in the meeting. They were outside talking, we had to go quiet them down sometimes. So it wasn't like we didn't have chairs, but you know, like you said, we can't force anybody to come in. Make sure you sit down like it's the second grade. So. Okay.
And there's one more, actually. The third complaint is that the chairman did not announce the name of the organizations they were going to discuss contract negotiations prior to entering into executive session, as required by Section 21A, subsection 3 of the open meeting law. That was an oversight on the board's behalf, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen in the future. The complaint, the individual that submitted the complaint has requested that we have open meeting law training for our boards and committees. And this is something that we're actually going to discuss. We completely agree, and we'll definitely look to implement this. So
that was the executive session for collective bargaining.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure we said that, but we didn't.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure we listed. We listed. We didn't say all of the different units, which
it was on the agenda.
It was, yes.
The agenda said this was.
The agenda did say it. Yes, absolutely. So as long as you're okay with that, I will. Do a response. We'll send it to him. We'll also CC the Attorney General's office as required, and the town clerk.
Do you need a motion for that, or
you would make a motion to authorize me to send that response.
Yeah. Sure. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Did we have the animal control officer?
We do.
Contract?
So this is something that, there's 2 copies here, that had gone out for procurement under request for proposals. We received proposals back. This was the proposal that was accepted. We've been working to draft up a contract. That's what this is. This is just a formal approval of the contract effective January 1st, 2023. Through there's a year and a half basically of the contract. It's split in 2 phases. So the first phase is through June 30th, so the rest of this fiscal year, and then for the next fiscal year, and then we split up the cost. The costs are on the contract there, but this would just be for you to vote and approve this contract. The chief we spoke with the chief, and he's fully supportive of this, and they are. I think Mr. Gannon is eager and ready to take over.
Okay, and the town council's been involved in this?
Yes, they have. Yep, they assisted in drafting the contract.
Questions?
No, I'm excited to get it going.
All right, so you want to make a motion, and I'll second it?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the contract of the town of Halifax with the Animal Control Services, Precision Wildlife Services.
And I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me, it's unanimous. All right. Thank you. You want it done? Okay, opening annual town meeting warrant.
This would just be a vote of the board to open the warrant.
As of,
You could do as of today,
and closing, it will be when?
March 1st. The bylaw requires March 1st that you close it, but you can reopen it at any time as needed after March 1st.
So this is for the annual?
Yes.
We haven't taken up whether or not we're going to have a special town meeting yet?
Correct. We likely will, but we don't have that exact information yet.
So I'll move that we open the annual town meeting warrant as of today, and it'll close as of March 1st, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Excuse me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have a couple of town things here. Are we supposed to address these today?
That's for Veterans Agent, that's for the 7:30.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
How about the other?
There's two for the...
Two for that.
For the Veterans Agent?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
All righty. Status updates on the following. MBTA action plan. I asked our town administrator to keep these on our agenda because I think these topics are, in some agendas would have been under old business and something that we need to make sure we stay after until we resolve them. And so the MBTA action plan, I just want to make sure it doesn't just die on the vine without us taking steps. So are we doing anything, any ideas of what we should do?
Yep, so we just submitted the plan after the board's approval last week. We plan to apply for a technical assistance grant through Old Colony Planning Council. I believe that opens up in March, so we'll apply for that. In the meantime, we'll draft a letter, likely this week, to the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee and ask them to take up this action and review it as you had requested at your last meeting.
Okay, as part of their overall
Yes,
study. For the zoning.
exactly.
Okay. Again, I know it's controversial, and I know not everybody's happy with our decision, but I think it's foolish to look the other way. So I would just as soon address it, see what we're going to do with it. If anything, we may decide that it's not a good idea and move on from there, but at least we're not looking the other way. I think that's the worst step we can take.
I agree.
Okay, number 2, Morse Brothers. I see a lot of faces in here that have probably here for that, so let's update on where we are now.
Absolutely. So we are working right now to schedule a date to do a site visit, which would consist of myself, a member of the select board, and an engineer. We've reached out to an engineer who is familiar with the project. He is willing to join us. So now we just need to reach out to Morse Brothers and choose a date that's mutually works for both parties.
Okay. And once we figure out what's going on, then we're going to talk with land council and to decide how to handle these issues. We know it's going to come up again in March, so. Mr. Goodman has a question.
I think this issue, Steve Goodman, 24th Ave. I think this issue's gotten bigger than you guys know or that anybody's aware. I think it might be not a bad idea, and it might be in the town's best interest for you to get a member of the Conservation Commission, maybe not me because I live in the neighborhood, to go on the site visit, although I'd love to. I think you need to look at East Bridgewater, their Conservation Commission, their town government, and Hanson. Because if you look at the overall size of the project and the scope of the project and its impact to the total environment, it's not just affecting our lake. The project that they've done, and some of us have put together evidence to prove this and to show this, that the sand they've taken from us went to the Hanson Bog. It's deeper than they said it was, caused a massive drainage issue because the water drains so quickly. And that is directly what has caused the problem at Robbins Pond. And now you have private citizens in East Bridgewater who have private property damage that very easily can be linked to this project. But that's outside of our town. So we're looking at it like this, and we need to look at it like this because it is as big as some of us have been saying from the beginning. It's one of the largest aquifers in eastern Massachusetts. It's not just a Halifax problem. It's not just an Avs neighborhood problem. Because if our lake looks like Robbins Pond looks now, it's going to take 40 years to fix it. Robbins Pond right now looks like a dirty mud puddle. It's a levee brook. because of all that flood. And those people in East Bridgewater's basements look like they have a sewage problem because their water had nowhere to go because it wasn't draining properly. So I think I think it's in your best interest to see if you can get the other towns on board to do a site visit because they're directly affected by the project as well. I don't know what jurisdiction they have. I don't know if they have any, but it's a bigger problem than we thought. Well,
Do you know how many residential properties were affected in East
I
Bridgewater?
don't for certain. I'm trying to get in touch with people from East Bridgewater, they're conservation people, and see what they know so far. See if anyone's filed complaints with them or if it's just, people with their insurance companies. I'm not sure.
So I'm not sure what he wants to do. So, I mean, I kind of understand the scope, but...
I was just going to say, not to butt in, but with Steve's idea of including a Concom member on the tour to maybe look through, and maybe contacting DEP to see if they could send somebody down as well. I know we're having a third-party engineer, but I don't know if maybe somebody from the state.
I don't know if that third-party engineer is familiar with all the zoning that's there as far as the wetland.
Right.
A DEP person would be very beneficial.
That would, Steve's claim is that this is a bigger problem than the town, so maybe if he wants to ease the concerns of the area and the state overall, we bring somebody from the state.
And if we don't have a person from the Taunton watershed, which I'm not sure we do for the town, which we're supposed to,
right.
The next closest town could send a representative, or just contact Taunton River Watershed, because Stump Creek and our lake are part of the Taunton River Watershed, which has federal protections as well. Any tributary that directly feeds the Taunton River Watershed has federal protections as well.
I think we're going to get some sort of a piecemeal way, even with Mr. Goodman's suggestions. So the issue you think is that the excavation that's going on over there is what's disrupting the water
So,
table or what?
not yet. The excavation on the property at the end of Lincoln Street, it's where they took the sand and put that sand. They said at the last meeting we had that they were using it to put 3 to 4 inches on their bog in Hanson.
Mhm.
That's just an outright lie. If you take a walk down there, the sand is 4 to 5 feet deep. And that created a tremendous, they filled it. They leveled it with the sand from that bog. It's now been leveled to what used to be a bog. But you can see that they cleared out all the bog debris as if they were going to refurbish a bog and then filled it with sand. And it drained too fast.
Why did they fill it with sand?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Okay.
Isn't that how they build a cranberry bog? With the
Not
cement
that much
layers?
sand. It's a typical
And it is
cranberry
a
bog.
cranberry bog, right?
Usually they strip the sand and replace it with between 2 and 4 inches every 3 to 5 years. That's what I was told by the Cranberry Growers
And is that
Association.
land you were talking about, is that?
Let's, just, we can't have a...
Sorry.
If anybody has a question, please raise your hand and I'll call on you, I promise, but...
I'll probably forget my question.
We'll remind you, but I can't have everybody talking at the same time, because this is a formal meeting. I know we're a little casual tonight, but we're trying to keep
I'm
things
sorry.
orderly.
It's
Thank you,
okay.
though. So anyway, I guess the question I'm trying to figure out is what is the most efficient way to do this? So you're talking about, bringing in like an army or something.
I think we'd have to get someone from the state involved, because if we only attack it as a Halifax problem, we're not going to solve the problem.
Okay.
I mean, we can on a small level. Where they're working right now, they're almost to lake level now where they're digging. They say they're not going to dig any further down, which is fine if they don't, I suppose. But the project they did in 2012, that's much closer to the lake if you look at an overhead map. If you come along with your boat or your kayak, I have a pontoon boat, so it's a little higher. If I stand on my boat, I'm actually looking down into their bog. And that particular small bog has been so wet since 2012 when they redid it and dug all that sand out. It's never actually produced cranberries. It's too wet all the time. But they threw cranberry plants in there after they dug out all that sand. They threw cranberry plants in there, and in all intents and purposes and appearances, it's a cranberry bog. But that was 2012 when they took out the 20 or 25 metric tons and damaged a bunch of water lines and gas lines back then as well. When they did that, they had permitting for that, and that's what the project was they were refurbishing that. But if you look at it, they dug just a little too deep there, and the water table filled that bog in.
Okay, so if this was strictly a sand and gravel operation, then we have bylaws and procedures and so on that we can follow, and all of these issues would come up. I think maybe the issue is more, Morse Brothers says it's an agricultural thing and is exempt from all of that, right? I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
So, I know our land lawyer has been looking at that issue, and I think you've probably seen the letter he wrote in response to, we wrote a letter, and then the lawyer for Morse Brothers wrote a letter back to us, and then we had Rick Huxton respond to that. So we have been following this since Christmas time. But I think that the issue of, I mean, if we were doing this as a sand and gravel deal, then we could handle a lot of these problems like you're talking about, because we would have public hearings, we would have experts come in, tell us this, that, and the other thing, we have reasons to do whatever we're doing. But I think the hitch right now is that it's being done in an agricultural setting, they say.
Yes.
And we're disagreeing with that. So we need to come to a head on that, and I'll talk to Rick Huxton again about that.
If you can talk to Conservation Commission and the town government in Halifax, in Plymouth and Carver. Plymouth's doing this for 20 years, and they finally got it where the state attorney general said, no, that's not a cranberry operation, that they classified it as, no, you were mining sand. But it took them a very long time.
This is with Plymouth Concom?
I believe so.
We'll try and find out about that.
Yeah,
I see that as what's going, as really.
That's where the problem
Trying to
is.
simplify this, I think that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you really look at it, I've talked to Cranberry Growers Association, I've talked to state representatives that are very familiar with cranberry, and they asked me the same thing. They said, are they really doing cranberries? Because there's no money in it. But they stand to make millions upon millions selling that sand.
You know that, yeah.
So,
well, let's do it this way then. Decide before we try to recruit an army of people to come in. Let's proceed with our starting engineer.
Yep.
We'll have an engineer there that will at least tell us what he thinks is going on.
Okay.
We'll have. I don't know who you would recommend from the Concom.
I would like to go, but if you decide someone else is better suited, maybe someone that's not quite as passionate as me, I don't know.
Maybe let them vote on who they
can decide.
would like to see.
Like the Concom? Yeah, that's a good idea. If you want to send a representative, we can have your group meet. If it's you, that's fine. If it's somebody else, that's fine. We trust you to keep your mouth shut while we're
Absolutely.
here.
Just looking for information.
Just kidding. But anyway, if we do that, if we do our walkthrough, which I really want to get done as soon as possible, simply because they have already suggested that in March they might be starting to do something again. And I want to get ahead of that, so that's why it's on this agenda. And in the interim, we're going to have to talk with the Land Use Council as to what to do. I mean, this could end up in a kind of a, I don't know if it's protracted, but at least it could end up in some kind of a litigation that, because ultimately that's where the decision will lie. When I looked at the law and I looked at the bylaws and everything, agricultural is really vague.
Yes.
And there's some cases on it, even cranberry bog cases, but they're not exactly what we have.
Right.
Usually it's like a big pile of sand going across the room or something like that.
Yeah.
So
That's the other thing that's difficult, is that it's hard for us to hold them accountable. It's hard for them to really, it is a lot of moving pieces, because they don't have another bog in Halifax. If they did, if they were just moving it from one end of their bog to the other, we really wouldn't have much to say.
Well, I think that's a problem, yeah.
The problem is that it's leaving town.
But at some point in time, I think you're right, that, even if you're doing agricultural moving of soil, even under the right to farm law and the right to farm bylaw that we have, you're limited in the amount of soil you can move around. And you keep it on your property.
I think that bylaw supersedes, because that bylaw is under the Wetland Protection Act, which our laws, like I've said before, predate the states. And I think those probably supersede the agricultural. So if they're violating a town bylaw that's under the Wetland Protection Act, that should take precedence over, oh, well, we can do this because it's agriculture.
That's where the lawyers come in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so.
You just had a resident.
Mr. Hudson.
I'll just talk from here.
Just
Jeremy 9 Ridgeview Ave. I would suggest having a hydrolysis, doing those groundwater flow and all that kind of stuff. And maybe talking to somebody that knows one, look at that.
Yeah, I think, like we were just talking about, this would be easy if this was a strict, if we could get everybody to agree that this is a permitted thing, right? Because then we can control it. We can say, okay,
Well,
trucks only happen this only happens here, we have this impact, this, that. The problem we're having here is that Morse Brothers' opinion is that pretty much everything they're doing is agricultural, and we can't touch it. And so that's kind of our problem right now.
I would say that our bylaws regarding Zone 2 override that.
Well, I said, again, that's what we're getting.
Your risk, I mean, basically, it's a risk to our water supply.
No, I agree.
That's what filters our water. Outlet out there.
I agree. It's right by the well. I mean, we know that. And again, I hate to get into these legal nuances amongst ourselves, because none of us get to make that decision, right? We may know what we're talking about, but ultimately it goes someplace else. So let's go in that direction if we have to. Okay. Anybody else have anything to tell us about Morse Brothers? No? All right, good. Do you have anything else you want to add? No? So again, this is on our agenda. You're going to see it every week until we resolve it, or at least get some progress on it. As far as I'm concerned.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
And just for the simple reason that I just don't want to let it slide off and then have another panic move. I don't like surprises, so. Okay.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
I agree with you.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
John McNeil, 1113th Ave. Could you put a notice on the town website when that walkthrough is going to take place?
We probably shouldn't do that, and this is why. It's private property, and we don't want to get into any sort of like issues with that. I guarantee you we'll give you a report once we see what it is. And honestly, as far as me or John or whoever walks it and Cody, we're not going to be able to tell you a whole lot other than, well, there's big piles of sand, but the engineer will. Right? He's already worked on this project because he was the town's engineer on the permit that they did apply for a year ago. So he's already familiar with the area and everything, so we'll give you a report. But I think I just don't think that's the right thing to do.
Well, it'd be interesting to see who's going to be in attendance. You know, you're saying you're trying to get this, you're going to try to get that.
Well, it'll be a
just going to
small
walk
group.
in with the engineer and the guys from Morse Brothers?
At this point, it'll be a small group that'll go, again, it's mostly so we can get some intelligence as to what we see, and then from there. But we'll let you know. There's no secrets here. It's just I don't want to make this into more of a fight than we have to.
And John, if I can, if we can open up too, if anybody has questions that they'd like asked, if they want to send them into the selectman's office, we can entertain that if you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So if there's something you want answered, let us know and we'll bring it with us.
Especially if they're technical questions like that. I mean, we've got, that's why we're paying for an engineer, we're gonna get used to them, so.
Jeremy Gillespie, 9 Ridgeview. I'd also recommend you reach out to EPA, Boston Division, their office, because this does involve water and public water for over 200,000 people. Sediment is a pollutant. It's and so you should definitely reach out to them.
So maybe you can just see who to contact on those, let them know what's going on.
We may just want to conduct the site visit first, so we can provide them with more information.
Okay.
Because they may have questions for us, and we just don't have a lot of information at this point.
Okay, all right, so it's 7:35, so Mr. Littlefield, I see you in the back, do you want to come on up? Thank you everyone for coming.
Evening.
Come on in. Your folks here? Yeah.
They are. So I'm here tonight with Mr. Rob Mullen and Mr. Sean Goyette They both filled out talent bank forms with interest in serving as the assistant to the veteran service officer. Previously, we had one assistant agent, but looking over their talent bank forms and the resumes, I raised the option of potentially bringing them both on since it's a volunteer position. They both expressed interest in that, so they're here tonight to hopefully.
Sure. Supervisor, you've spoken to them and you recommend them?
I have I've known Rob for a long time. Sean, been talking back and forth over the last couple months, both long careers of public service, and looking to broaden that a little bit.
Okay. Let's start with Mr. Mullen. You want to just tell us who you are and why you want to be our assistant veterans agent?
Like Steve said, Robert Mullen. I've been in Halifax for the last 10 years. I'm on the Board of Assessors. I did just over 10 years in the Army. I think we need a strong support system for our veterans. I think, especially Vietnam vets, a lot of stuff has dropped off. And I think if we can have a great support system for those, past, present, and future, we can take care of them, especially, younger people coming into the town, and then, family members as well.
Okay. Any questions?
No, just, so you already answered how long you lived here. What were my other questions? Trying to remember any other one.
Conflicts?
Any conflicts, time conflicts, do you foresee with the duties of being an assistant?
I don't see any conflicts. Speaking with Steve and the hours that he's worked, a couple times a year doing events in the town, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. I don't foresee any conflicts. I mean, I have a great support system at home, so if I've got to move things around, we're just going to keep moving forward.
Okay, great.
All right. And then we'll do both. Mr. Goyette?
Yes, sir.
Just tell us who you
Good
are.
evening, Board. Sean Goyette. Just moved to Halifax last year. We moved to Riders Way. My wife Jody and I spent 8 years in the Army. Moving here from Brockton, of which I am a member of the Brockton VFW post. I have served every role on the Board of Directors there. I'm very passionate about veterans issues. As far as time conflicts, I will be starting law school in the very near future, but that will not prevent me from providing my time to the town and the residents that need my assistance.
Yeah, that's good. Questions? Good. Well, you start law school in the fall?
Hopefully.
Full-time, part-time?
Hybrid, so mostly online and a little bit at school. So.
Any advice, counselor?
Yeah, a lot of reading.
My wife is an attorney too, so.
Oh, good, fantastic. All right, I think these seem like fantastic guys. I'm thrilled that you would volunteer with us, so you want to do a motion on Mr. Muller?
Absolutely, I would love to make a motion to name Robert Mullen as the Veterans Agent Assistant. Is there expiration at all? For the term ending June 30th, 2023. So that's coming up.
Okay. Yeah, this is an annual thing.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And for Mr. Goyette?
I would love to make a motion to name Sean Goyette the Veterans Agent Assistant with a term ending in June 30th, 2023.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much for
Thank you, guys.
volunteering and congratulations and best of luck. You'll have to come and get your cards.
Okay.
They come and get their cards from you and bring to the clerk?
Yep, I'll send them a letter. I'll send you guys a letter. Okay.
Excellent.
And then I'll get the cards to Sue, and then she can swear you in.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, this is from last week.
Did we just do it? Are we done?
No.
I don't think
You were way off.
We're on schedule. So the last thing I see on the agenda is, again, a standing head, as you say in the newspaper business.
Yes, TV business. Come on.
Training for boards and commissions. Sandy Owen forwarded to me and I think I forwarded it to you, a program or a company or something that might be able to do that. Did you look into that? Do you know anything about it?
I've requested more information from them as far as proposals. I'm still waiting to hear back. There's some other training that we've sent out that was today actually on just how to host meetings. We sent that out to all of our department heads, and Sandy forwarded it to many of our boards and committees. I heard pretty good feedback from some of the attendees that it was useful, so that was good. I have contacted the Attorney General's office to host open meeting law training for our boards and committees. I'm working to set up some dates with them, and we'll forward that to all boards and committees and recommend that everyone take that. And then I'm still waiting on the proposal from the more engaged, kind of individualized training for each of the boards and committees.
Right, so some of them are very technical, like the zoning board. The planning board's elected, so we can't force them to do anything. But the Conservation Commission, the zoning board are very technical, and I think that the people on those boards should be educated, so we don't, make mistakes. And so what I was thinking is, I think I would like to make it as a policy that when we appoint folks to these various boards, that we require that as part of their appointment that they attend at least some of these educational things.
It's a great idea.
And that way we know that, somebody could be new, not having been on the Conservation Commission before, but at least they'll have the opportunity to learn something, and maybe, they'll solve a lot of problems in the long run. So for anything that we appoint, then I would like to start that maybe this year.
Should we make a motion to make it a requirement? Is that a possibility?
We can make it a policy, right?
Yeah.
Which means if we have to change it, we can, or whatever, but we can make it a policy. So I'll make that motion that we establish a policy in the Board of Selectmen that for appointments, that we will require the appointees to attend training classes for the specific boards or commissions that they're appointed to.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion?
Just quickly on Sandy, I know with our agreement with Jack Dolan as our HR attorney, part of that is he can schedule some seminars basically for us. I know technically it's HR kind of stuff, but is there anything that might be a crossover that might be worth having our boards, committees be part
So
of?
I believe that he would do open meeting law,
Yeah.
probably also Public Information Act. I think those two things would apply to boards and committees as well as employees, so making those available would
Sure.
be worthwhile.
Where he's already on retainer and we're already paying him anyway.
Absolutely.
This might be a good resource to tap into too.
Jim Walters, Orchard Circle. The Massachusetts Municipal Association has tons of training WebExes for different types of committees. I'm reading some for like the Finance Committee. They also have videos. The meeting WebEx was run by them today, so that's also an option for people to go in and look at.
I want to make the policy vague and broad enough so that we can leave that open. But just like in years past, well, first of all, every year things get more and more complicated. It seems like everything's more complicated. But in my experience in the past, we had a lot of institutional knowledge on a lot of the different boards, whether it was Finance Board or Concom, so people had been there for 15 or 20 years. So they kind of learned the ropes, and then somebody new would come on, they'd usually be an associate member, and after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they finally understand what they're supposed to do. But we don't really seem to have that now.
Right.
And it seems like it'd be a bad thing to kind of rely on because of the way people, it's volunteer, volunteers, we can't expect volunteers to do the same thing forever. So I think that's one option for the community, because especially, Finance Committee has opportunities for that. We should do a townwide open meeting law thing. I know years ago we did. It's a good idea just to do it, just to make sure that everybody's heard it anyway.
I'd like to speak on the MMA as well. I took that course today. That
Frank
was
Johnston.
my apologies. Which is what they told us today. Was supposed to be
Exactly.
Frank Johnston.
Identify yourself.
And you're supposed to name your street and your town.
Thank you.
Elm Street, Halifax.
Town, I think we all know the town.
And I took that MMA today, and it was only an hour long, and I had 4 select members from the region. And it was very informative on how they hold their meetings and forms that they provide that are available to members of the different committees to utilize. And within the MMA, as Jim has stated, there's just a wealth of knowledge and seminars and forms that can be pulled down off of there to learn from and utilize in your day-to-day business on these committees and stuff.
Maybe what we'll do as time goes along is we'll look at that maybe in conjunction with, like, say, the zoning board. We'll have the zoning board take a look at some of these and say, what do you, people on the board now, let's talk about what we think somebody newly appointed should be doing. And I'm not talking about necessarily just new people onto the board either, I'm talking about reappointments too. Like, if you've been up for reappointment, not that I don't want to reappoint you, but I want to make sure you're educated. So I'm going to make it available that way as best as we can.
Yeah, it's very in-depth for what they're teaching, and they're short. They don't take all day, you know, they're quick. They have different modules with different people speaking, and it's very good.
60 minutes.
Yes, today was 60 minutes. Last one it took was like an hour and 15 minutes. And that's with the Q&A at the end, and they're right on the spot when the time's up, it's done.
Good.
And it starts on time, and yeah, it's very well run.
Excellent. Okay, did we vote on that?
No, I'm sorry, I think I need a second. There was a motion on the floor, I believe.
All right.
So I second
Any
it.
more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. I think that's it. Anything else on our agenda?
That's it, as far as I see.
Except for a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We will meet again tomorrow night at
6 o'clock.
7.
It's an executive session.
Oh, Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're at 7.
Yeah.